Who's the Republican nominee likely to be?
I don't really care. I think they're all losers.
Oh, great. They're all losers. Here to react, one of those people who's running for president. We've got Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Good morning to you, Senator.
Are you feeling hurt?
No, not really. I mean, the worst thing we can do is talk about it. That's what he wants, and there used to be a line of civility in American politics, and it's particularly problematic on the left. They never argue with you about your ideas. Their almost instant reaction is to attack you personally and call you a name.
Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, along with Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, Jane Velez-Mitchell. What was Harry Reid thinking exactly when he said that? I know he's all tough with those sunglasses on. Kind of looks like Joe Pesci in a roundabout short.
But best I've ever seen him look.
Probably, right?
Cool.
Go get your shine box.
No, it's
but
not cool.
He was the former majority leader in the Senate and therefore should conduct himself accordingly, one would think. Does Marco Rubio have a point? Does the left just resort to name-calling, Rick Unger?
You know what? Yes, and just as much as the right resorts to name-calling, would you like me, or name-calling, to sit here and do a litany of some of the things that Republicans in the Senate have particularly called President Obama? He is right. This is uncalled for, uncivil, should never happen, and yet to sit there and pretend this is what the left does, oh, please. I mean, even my conservative friends, who are many, would look at him and go, what, are you kidding me?
You say in the Senate things have been said about President Obama, but at the leadership level, you're saying that they're just as bad as some of the things that Reid has said?
Have you ever heard John Boehner talk about Barack Obama? Every time I hear it, it boggles my mind.
Personal attacks, though? Or difference with policy?
Give me an example.
Personal.
Like what?
Okay. I have an example.
On TV?
Go ahead.
I have an example. Okay, Rand Paul just unleashed an ad that accuses Hillary Clinton of arrogance, corruption, and cover-up, and the RNC chair accused her of a trail of secrecy and scandal. I mean, those are, okay, he called them a loser, so secrecy and scandal.
But it's different.
That is much different because you have somebody, right,
both sides do it. Let's not pretend otherwise. I'm willing to cop to my side doing it. But you shouldn't pretend that people on the right don't do the same.
I don't remember anybody calling somebody a loser.
Really? Not in the same way. I mean, I don't think you can give an example of someone doing it in the same way. I think Harry Reid, I don't think there's a lot of other people on the left who do it. I think Harry Reid is on his way out, and he just is not afraid to let loose. And I think it's going to be very dangerous because we still have a period of time where we have to deal with this guy, and he has no problem with saying that he lied about Mitt Romney and that everyone else is a bunch of losers.
Are you a fan of Harry Reid and his legacy, Jane?
I'm not. I think that they knocked the sense out of him when he had that accident. He should not speak until his eye heals, which could be a couple of years. But I do.
Do you think the eye is affecting the brain?
I'm saying, I think
That's interesting.
he seems to have gotten a little wobbly ever since that exercise accident.
Well, it's not since then, because he's done something even worse than this. His whole thing about Mitt Romney, where I don't know that he was lying or not, even if he made a mistake, to sit down last week and say, I'm not going to apologize. What, you never heard of politics?
Yeah.
That was despicable.
Guess what? We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, my potluck.
Oh.
Armed and ready for bear.
Getting worse and worse, and it's dangerous because he has some time left.
I would think that he would care about his legacy to a certain extent, right? I don't get he's a loser.
He sounds bitter.
Bitter, right, right. But why?
About what? Right,
you were
exactly.
in the Senate for 27 years. You live in Vegas, or at least near it. That's the dream. I got power of government. I got free alcohol. I got access to, the
I can gamble on the House as much as I want. I'm a senator. You're right. What's his problem?
I think he's got nothing left to lose. He's talking now about trying to force a vote on Loretta Lynch tomorrow or later on the next week.
He's right about that, because this is outrageous.
We'll talk about that another day, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know if you've heard or not, but a new Kansas law is now banning those on welfare from using cash assistance from the state for, among other things, concerts, tattoos, lingerie, otherwise known as lingerie, nail polish. What else? Vacations, alcohol, cigarettes. Also, it limits the amount of cash that one can withdraw a day to $25, which gets you about one drink with tip in Manhattan these days. All right, Jane. I mean, we've seen other states try to regulate these things, right? Some say this is an attack on the poor. Your thoughts?
I agree with it 100%. And that's why I feel this whole liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican thing, there's no way you can just side with one side on everything. And I really feel welfare needs to be reformed and that it's ridiculous, for example, to be able to buy junk food with food stamps. We've got to revamp everything. Obesity is sadly correlated to poverty. So why give people money to buy fast food and junk food? Why not insist, if you're going to get money from the government, you better eat a healthy, for example, plant-based diet? I totally agree with that, and I think we got to cut back on all of this, but I also think we got to end welfare for the rich, like the subsidies to big ag, like the ridiculous experiments that are completely useless that the National Institutes of Health funds because they're make-work projects for rich scientists. We have so much money we can save in this country. The idea that we've cut to the bone is nonsense.
I cannot understand why people would object to this. You know, it was drafted by the Kansas Child and Family Welfare Organization. They're putting it forward to help children because you'd rather have the parents spending money on good food rather than on alcohol, lottery, whatever it may be. I don't understand. You know, the Washington Post, the LA Times, Jon Stewart all think that this is just a horrible thing, and I really don't get it.
I'm going to ask you to tolerate me just for a moment because I didn't want everybody to think I had a brain hemorrhage when I said that John Boehner called President Obama a loser, appearing on State of the Union, talking on behalf of Mitt Romney. He said, that would be John Boehner, the American people do not want to vote for a loser. They don't want to vote for someone who hasn't been successful. I think Mitt Romney has a chance to show the American people that they too can succeed. He called him a loser.
No. He's
oh,
saying,
yeah, he did.
He's
In
saying
fact,
that
this
Mitt
is a
Romney has been
conservative.
successful.
Very
This is a
different.
conservative magazine saying that he called him a loser.
I didn't get that out of that quote.
It's different.
Not sure
They're
how
a
you
bunch
can.
of losers versus the
No,
American
no,
people
no,
don't
no.
want to vote for a loser.
He's
You're just
called him a
avoiding the
loser.
welfare
No,
question.
I'm going to get to that next. I actually do agree with you guys to a large extent. No, those people should not be spending their money on that stuff. I think what's upsetting people is that you've got people who are constantly saying, we don't want the government telling us what to do, and then turn around saying, but it's okay to tell poor people what they have to do.
With government money.
I know, it's government money. It's a little more complex and complicated than it's being painted. I would do it a different way. I would not tell people what they have to do, but I would develop a system so that you know what they are buying, you know, based on how their cards are used, and you can call them in and challenge them if they're wasting the money.
But who has the time or the resources
resources.
to do
I
that?
know, it's a
that
problem.
adds a whole
It's a
other
very
problem.
tricky issue.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
But there has to be
There are.
accountability, and if it can't be that way, it's got to be this way.
It's a
Particularly in
tricky
Kansas,
one.
where there's not a heck of a lot to do, and you can see why
Well,
that
there
money
you
would
have.
go
You
towards
should
alcohol.
have some sympathy for
Cruise
them.
ships.
then.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Never been to Kansas, so who am I to judge? Anyway, coming up next, would you want to live to be 1,000 years old? We'll talk about that next on the Daily Wrap.